Istanbul, Turkey. And I work as an international community services specialist. I will give you a brief background as to what that is. And today I wanted to share two projects that I've created and led at Koç University so that maybe you might get some inspiration or join us in the case of my first project. So at Koç University, which is one of the leading research universities in Turkey, we have a community services office. This unit that I'm a part of is actually quite a unique one in the context of Turkey, which I will mention in detail in my next session later in the day. So I will go over this very briefly, but we are responsible not of recruitment of international students, but more so their well-being and adjustment to the university lifestyle upon their arrival. So the services that we provide are not only for international students, but also international faculty members, researchers, staff, etc. And we develop many projects along with, of course, handling their bureaucratic procedures. And there's a wide array of things that we do in that regard, which I will discuss in the session following this one. So in that scope, I led this project called the International Student Service Hub. And basically, an insight came to us when we were doing a benchmarking within my department, where we wanted to kind of understand, we had to build our own orientation program for the undergraduate students and create a mentorship or buddy program to go along with it. And before just jumping into it and kind of creating something based on what we thought was what we needed to do, we wanted to do a benchmarking with colleagues from around the world, mostly our institutional partners, to see what their best practices were and how we could adapt that, if we could, to our university. And when we were doing that, it was, to be frank, very fun. It was so nice seeing colleagues from around the world with differences, but also a lot of similarities in the way that they conduct their services towards international students. So what we also realized with this was the fact that we didn't have that much opportunity to come together with colleagues and discuss the service side when it comes to international students. So what I decided was to kind of initiate something that would enable that. Basically, the aim was to create a space where there can be a perpetual exchange of ideas, best practices, and feedback regarding services provided to international degree-seeking students. This has kind of expanded now. We're not super limited to degree seeking, but the reason that I mentioned degree seeking is that exchange, like short-term exchange, was more studied on, and our colleagues that are responsible of incoming exchange students are separate from us. So we're responsible of students that kind of move to Turkey, start a whole life here, perhaps plan to have a career here. So the needs and the experiences are significantly different than those who are here for a short time. So that's why we wanted to kind of keep our focus on degree-seeking students. Currently, we have over 50 members from 35 different countries. We did start this by kind of sending an invitation to all of our institutional partners, but then also promoting it on LinkedIn. I also reached out to certain colleagues who are in Turkey in the same offices who wanted to take part. So it's kind of been a more word of mouth way that we've started. So this started in 2022, April 2022, and currently we do have colleagues from all around the world who join us at any given moment. So the general flow is that we come together each month over Zoom for around an hour, and we select the theme ahead of time. So usually in the previous session on what we would like to discuss. And then depending on the needs of the participants, we also have specific sessions called spotlight sessions, where we give the floor to a colleague to share a special project that they lead or something that's inspirational that they think that would impact the other colleagues, or if they're looking for collaborators, for example. And throughout the month, we continue our conversations on our LinkedIn group, which has also been fun. So we share courses, or, for example, might be looking for an intern from abroad. They do have that space to do that over LinkedIn as well. So some of the themes that we have already covered, this is only a few, but usually it's like, for example, orientation week or welcome week practices, buddy mentorship programs, social integration. Those are ones that we do annually because always there are different participants and different colleagues who are joining us. And it's usually a hot topic because many of the colleagues kind of always want to revise these programs. It's also inspirational for us as well. But then we've had different sessions on methods of communication. So that's like the way that we send out emails, or how do we create guides? Like, what tools do we use? Also, what has worked, what has not worked? Also, we do collaborate with other administrative departments. So we've had our career services team come, and then we've invited career service teams from the other institutions to come and discuss the international students and career services. How does that work, kind of thing. So we do have one-off sessions like that as well. And generally, the environment is a friendly one. So we just grab a cup of coffee and just have a discussion together. We do have 50 active members, but usually each session is around, let's say, 7 to 15. It doesn't like, usually we like to keep it small so that we can all hear from one another. And we share our best practices, but also talk about challenges that we may face so that we can see if other colleagues are facing something similar and have similar solutions, for example. And of course, like I mentioned, we stay connected through LinkedIn, but I also do a quarterly wrap-up where I share a summary of the discussions that we've had on a 3-month basis. So if anyone has missed it, they can also read up on it in a more, digestible form. But also I share the recordings of the sessions as well. So in case somebody missed it, they're welcome to watch too. So what we found from this in the last 3 years, basically, is that, of course, this is a platform for taking inspiration from the best practices and enhancing current services. We've heard that from other colleagues that this has worked, and that, for example, they might have heard something that we do that they have now been doing. For example, the buddy program, we've had colleagues who didn't have a buddy program before, which is kind of like a friendly guide to undergraduate students, that have established it and asked, for example, for my feedback on it. But vice versa, I've kind of changed the way that I send out emails because one of our colleagues mentioned an easier, more digestible way to do it. So it can be something as small as that or as big as starting a new initiative. But also sharing that challenges, like I mentioned earlier, has been very cathartic as well, because hearing that other colleagues are facing similar hurdles has been nice to hear, so that it's not just our institution that has an issue kind of thing, but also to hear how they overcome it has been inspiring as well. And also it has allowed many of our members to kind of connect and create a network. So we've had colleagues who have gone on staff exchange to each other's institutions. I've also had the opportunity to visit some of our members. And then different partners have, different members have started partnerships through this as well. And also, I do try my best to gather feedback, mostly like either verbally through our sessions, or a more of like a qualitative way where I've asked our participants to let me know if they have, of course, any topic suggestions, but also what to add. So, for example, our spotlight sessions, it kind of came out of that. And also the LinkedIn group came out of the fact that our participants wanted to keep in contact. And also, it kind of opened the door to creating new programs. And an example of this, for example, is the Inclusion and Global Awareness Certificate Program, which is my second project that I want to discuss with you. So this Inclusion and Global Awareness Certificate Program actually was kind of born in the International Student Service Hub discussions. Basically, I had been hearing for many years through students, but also staff members in different departments, that there was some kind of disconnect. When it comes to international students, sometimes they were seen as, okay, if they're international students, then the responsibility of the international office and any problem that they have in any other administrative department could be relayed to us. And while looking at it from the student perspective, it was seen as, oh, like they don't know what to do with us, so they're sending us to different places, could be one take. But then when you look at the staff members, they were saying that we were having communication issues, we were not understanding, even if it wasn't just language, there was a method of communication that was a problem. And when we were discussing this in the International Student Service Hub, we realized that this was actually a thing in many of the universities. So we decided to create a program, a training program for administrative staff members, and kind of created a very rough outline. And then each member that wanted to kind of took this on to their own university, and I led it when it came to Koç University. And the aim of this certificate program is to facilitate the internationalization throughout the campus by creating a training program for administrative staff specifically, which allows them to develop multicultural sensitivity and to kind of take what they've learned from this training to their respective departments and kind of carry forward those best practices, but also the kind of things that they've learned in this program. So what we expected from this was for international students to have more of an ease of transition to their academic journey, since there will be a more welcoming campus environment, which will increase their sense of belonging and well-being. And then, of course, to enhance the capacity of our staff members and their ability to become global citizens, and for them to increase the diversity in the services that they provide as cultural ambassadors in their respective departments. And the training program, which then kind of allows them to receive a certificate, has two phases. So one phase is the learning phase, where we had 7 different sessions. And this comprises of interactive seminars, workshops, and group work sessions. We have academicians that are leading these sessions alongside me. So we had the kickoff, where we shared the international student journey after kind of having some team building activities where the cohort can get to know one another and to understand their background first. So we knew basically the participants and their needs. And then we started talking to them about the international student journey. And then we had 2 sessions, perspective taking and communication styles, led by an academician who's trained in intercultural competence. So this allowed them to learn more about themselves, insight about who they are and the way that they view the world and the way that they communicate. Either it's with their interpersonal relationships in general, but also, of course, with the intercultural take of it and kind of communication with the aspect of the English language, but even the way that they communicate in languages that they're comfortable in. And then we had a sociology professor who led a workshop on discrimination and racism, prejudice, and microaggressions, which we had case studies where our participants were able to evaluate these different concepts. And then we came together with international students and got our participants to work in groups with them to discuss student experiences in different parts of the university and how to handle them. And then we had an ideation session on how they could take what they've learned to their departments in the scope of a project or an initiative. And this week, they'll be presenting them to us, and we will be seeing how we're going to continue to phase 2, which is the implementation phase. So this phase focuses on the activities and services that they already provide in their respective departments, but also the projects that they will initiate in their departments. So the phase will begin by collecting feedback from international students, if need be, for the department that they're from. Whether that be surveys or focus groups, whatever makes sense for their department. And then they will implement the project that they've designed, and they will be evaluating throughout the semester how this project is going, if it's actually serving its purpose. And then they will present the outcomes to the rest of the cohort alongside their team leaders. And at the end of this phase, they will receive a certificate. And the first phase takes place in the spring semester, and it's currently finishing now. And the second phase takes place in the fall semester. Participants are expected to take part in the learning phase in all of the sessions in person, which have been 7 different sessions and 2 hours per week. And should they choose to, they can use this as a part of their performance goal, because we have performance goals for the year. So if they would like to, they can be evaluated on this as well. And of course, once they complete the program, they receive a digital certificate, which they may utilize as well. So in 2024, we had a pilot cohort And the pilot cohort comprised of staff members from the Dean of Students, which the Office of International Programs is tied to. And following the pilot, of course, we took a lot of notes. There were things that didn't work, things that went well, and we also gathered feedback from the participants. And with that, we redesigned the program in the format that I just mentioned and launched it to the general population of Koç University, and recruited new members for our cohort. And currently we have 10 participants in the 2025 cohort. We wanted it to be more specialized, and since it's very interactive, we wanted to kind of give everyone the space in those 2 short hours to interact with one another. So we kept the cohort pretty limited. As of now, the participants are from many different administrative departments, like student affairs, student accounting, library, alumni relations, different faculties. And also we have a center for learning and teaching. So we have a participant from there as well. And since we have although we have 10 participants, some of them are from the same department. So they did choose to make new projects together. So we are kind of expected to have 7 different international student-oriented projects that will be launched in the fall semester. And of course, what I personally took away from this whole experience of creating such an ambitious program, because I started creating the certificate program in 2023. So of course there was the creation part, and then the pilot, and then updating it, and then launching it. So it was pretty taxing, of course, not having the kind of not seeing the outcome, but still trying to create something was taxing. But at the end of the day, especially with this cohort, we were able to see that once you provide administrative staff this space, these insights, these tools, they were able to develop a better understanding of the student experience and enhance their self-awareness. For example, last week we had our ideation session, and we had colleagues who themselves, when we asked them like what they learned, like what stuck out to them, one of them said, we've always been talking about labeling these students. Like first they were called foreign students in Turkish, then they were called international students, but I feel like they are just students, and yes, they have different needs and we should provide equity, but labeling them kind of puts them in a category. And hearing that without us kind of dictating or being like, oh, in the literature now they're talking about this discourse and you should learn this, for them to kind of naturally get to that point throughout with the things that they've taken away was very impactful to me. And to hear them come to this point it was great to hear. And also the fact that they started talking about the fact that they didn't want to focus on deficit narratives, and the fact that international students need this, international students are struggling with this. Instead, they started focusing on there are certain enhancements that need to be made. How can the university help us to kind of fill those gaps? Like seeing that perspective shift was very inspiring, but also seeing that they were so motivated to carry forward was great as well. But one part of that, as my second point here, in the first pilot, we kind of spoke with our Dean of Students, and they were kind of chosen to take part in this. And it was mandatory for them. And we saw that was not a good motivator, for sure. We saw that making this mandatory did cause for a lot of dropouts, saying that there was like conflict, they had other stuff to do, whatever. But what we saw was that once we opened this as an opportunity for administrative staff members, being like, do you want to develop these skills? Would you like to take part in something that hasn't been done before? Those participants who chose to take part willingly were more motivated to hang onto it and to develop it and to carry this to the implementation phase. So we think that was also a right decision, and that intrinsic motivation is also important in facilitating this and kind of allowing them to become this ambassador once they go back to their departments and share what they've learned as a role model in a sense, so that maybe perhaps in their departments they'll be like, oh, this person took this training, came out with this, maybe if I take it next year I'll come out with something different. So that's our hope also for the future. And yeah, that's generally it from my side. I wanted to keep it as brief as possible. But if you would like to find out more, you can scan the QR code. I'll also share it in the chat. And of course, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.